Good evening, peeps. I'm kind of doing a two-parter here because I hit on earlier depression, but this one because it's on my mind and I'm thinking about it. I wanted to hit on suicide. Excuse me. See, I'm not gonna edit that stuff. I want to talk about. You know, I rewatched my depression one, and I say a lot. I'm really gonna make it a goal to try to quit saying that so much because in everyday life I don't talk like so maybe I'm a little nervous still. So suicide. My younger brother Josh, he is the sixth child of my mother's, killed himself. He had been using drugs prior to this. He I think he was still doing marijuana when this happened. I am not sure. I wasn't there that day. But I do know through the years he had been in and out of trouble. He had been addicted to drugs. When him and his wife started having children, he went from all that hard stuff. As far as my knowledge, I'm just saying what's my knowledge. Not like I can ask him now until I get to heaven. If I even think that, I would not probably because I'd be in heaven. He was off of all the hard stuff because I know meth was in there. For sure, I know meth. I'm sure cocaine. But he was off all that hard stuff and was just on marijuana. Not that I'm saying you should be on marijuana or shouldn't be on marijuana. If you know anything about me, it really comes between you and God. I believe in God, you may not. But I'm just saying straight up. It really comes between you and God. That's just how it is. Whether you believe it or not, fine. So, what I wanted to hit on is how this spiraled me into my first set of depression. I was in my 30s, and I'm, like I said earlier, the oldest girl of my mom's kids. My dad had remarried and had a daughter, and I have a stepsister, but I don't consider her my stepsister. I consider her my sister, Misty. She could tell you that. I believe she feels the same way. She loves me, and we're sisters. That's just how it is. There's no step. I'm just, for you out there to know it, she's my sister. But while my parents were married, they had kids. So my mother had 8 children altogether, 5 boys, 3 girls. Josh was the 6th. So he was the 4th boy. There's one younger one, and I am the oldest girl. I helped raise, we call it the 4 oldest and 4 youngest because there's a split there. After my sister Carrie, I have a brother Justin, Vicky, Josh, and Joe, and Tiff and Misty are from my dad's remarriage, so I have them in there too. But Joshua and our family, I helped raise the 4 younger of my mother's kids. I'm the oldest girl. That kind of came with the territory. I think anybody, oldest, middle, girl, whatever, you all the household stuff, whatnot. I was a tomboy. So I did the household stuff because I truly wanted to be in the outside stuff. After my parents split they were split. My mom moved us to Wisconsin, and my grandparents, her parents, had a farm. So that's where we grew up. And to know Josh is to know just love. I mean, I could say that about all of us, but if people would take one word to describe Josh, I can guarantee you 2 very most common words they would say. And you all, if you're any of my loved ones, friends watching, comment down here and tell me if this is true or not, is his smile and his eyes. He had the bluest eyes. They were just beautiful. My brother Josh was a man that was, what was he? He was 6'6", maybe 6'8", 6'6", probably, I would say. Probably roughly about 200 pounds. I don't know, 220 maybe. I don't know, he's a smaller dude. And has 3 beautiful children. I love him dearly. And he just couldn't overcome stuff in his life. We're a family that is always there for each other. We try to have monthly get-togethers. Of course, the ones that are out of state, that's not possible. But up until before Joshua had killed himself, we were all in the state of Wisconsin. My sister Carrie's in North Dakota, my sister Tiff in Indiana, and my brother John and all their families in Alabama were all in Wisconsin. So we had get-togethers, and there's a minimum. I'm talking minimum 45, 50 people at our family gatherings, and that's immediate family. There's 9 siblings and 10 if the steps want to come on in or whatever, and their kids. And I don't have a sibling that has less than 3 kids, well, Tiff. Sorry, Tiff. Sorry. Tiff's not married yet, but she's dating. Well, I don't know. She'll say she's not dating. Okay, that's another subject. I'm rabbit trailing. So Joshua is a man that was in and out of trouble. I remember when he was 14, my mom just couldn't handle him no more. She could not handle him. He had been in the juvenile system. And she had his parole officer talk to me, and Josh moved in with me and my best friend Janita. This is years ago, so this is prior to Janita and I being married and we're married together, but married to our husbands at the time, because I'm divorced now. But her and I had a 3-bedroom place, and he took over one of the bedrooms at 14. And we had our troubles with him too. I mean, I remember Janita would be like, Kel, I'm missing gas in my car. I might have a leak. Can you go check it? So I went and checked it, and there's no leak. But we tried to stay up, and sure enough, Josh, at 14 and 15 years old, was sneaking out in her car and going 2, 3, 4 towns away. So we had to nip that in the bud. But with suicide, I know there's a lot of things that led up to that. His wife left him that week. I think just a matter of a few days before that. And that's their own personal issues. That's not something I'm going to address on here, because if she's watching, I don't want to bring up anything for her to have to relive or whatever. I'm just saying, I know him. He had his issues. He had, I don't know if he had used strong drugs that night. I don't know. We don't know, unfortunately. I mean, so when everything had happened, my grandmother was not doing good. So we were all living out at my grandma's. She had like a duplex, and Joshua and his wife at the time were living with me and their kids. And my grandmother and mother lived upstairs. And so we helped take care of my grandmother. And Josh and his wife had fallen on hard times. So we took them in and, to help them. That's kind of how this family works. And so I'm sure, losing your job, he lost his job. So there's a lot of things, that added on to it. I'm sure there was issues from his past. Joshua had been raped when he was younger, whether the people involved want to admit that or not. He had been molested. My mom did seek counseling for him, and I think those are issues that probably were never fully taken care of for him inside. Like I said, my mom did the best on that she could do, but for him personally, those were issues I think he never got through. And take it as it is, it's not something you probably want to talk about, being raped or being molested, I am someone in this family that does talk about being molested. I was molested. I do talk about that with my family members and the kids, because I don't want things to be the quiet, push under the door, hide in the closet crap. Because I think that's a lot of what happened with Joshua. I didn't know until he had gotten older that he had been raped or molested. I didn't know. Maybe, I don't know my mom's reasoning. Maybe she felt we didn't need to know. Maybe she felt he needed protected and didn't need to be talked to. I don't know what she felt, and it's not important to me right now, at this minute, what she felt. What's important is to talk about suicide, of the effects of it. I can't even imagine being at a place where I would want to take my own life. I've been at a place where I didn't care if I died. I know it's not the same. It might have some similarities because I didn't care. I didn't value my life anymore. Um, maybe some people will say that was contemplating suicide, but I never had a thought to kill myself. But my brother not only did have a thought, he did. My brother hung himself. And that being hard enough, my mom is the one that found him. And then started calling us kids. She called the police already, and she started calling us kids. And I was at work. I don't know if my siblings can remember what they were doing or whatnot, but I was at work. My mom was screaming and crying and get out here now, da da da. And my 15-minute drive, I made it, I think, in 6 minutes. No lie. Shh, I was speeding. I don't promote that. When I got there, he was already cut down, which memory serves me right. My mom can correct me in the comments, Mom, if you want. My mom cut him down. How horrific. Can't even imagine. I don't even know if I could have done it as my own brother, let alone my son. I did look at Josh like a son because I helped raise the 4 younger ones. I helped my mom physically, financially, emotionally, mentally. I helped her move them. They lived with me pretty much most of their life until they became adults and or whenever they had been, blessed to go to college or to get married. So when I'd gotten there, he was already cut down, and the police were there at that time. I can't remember. I think there was a detective. I can't remember now. They wouldn't let us buy him. They were looking for evidence because it still could have been a matter of murder. So I seen him. There was a room off of the basement. It was like a storage room per se, storage cellar, but it wasn't under the house. It was on the side of the house, but the basement was down, in the ground. So it's kind of like a storage cellar, but a little bit, it was bigger, and it had stairs to go in and out of that side of the room, or you could go in through the house. And I was on the outside looking down the stairs, and he was laying there. And like I said, he was a tall man, so I could see him clearly because he was so tall. And even though there was quite a few people down there, I can't remember at this time how many people were down there, but he was laying on the ground, and that's just a sight I'll never forget the rest of my life. And I went back into the house. My mom wanted me to go down to my brother and pray over him, which some of you might think that's crazy, but as a Christian, we believe that God can raise the dead. And that's just facts. That's what we believe. So I told my mom, I'm like, they're not letting me down. They won't let me down there. She's like, you need to. So I went down to the doorway again, and I just started praying. I didn't care who there thought I was crazy. I didn't care who there thought this woman's on drugs herself. I just started praying because I wanted God to raise my brother. That's my little brother. It was like my son. I remember when my mom was pregnant with the youngest Joe, Josh had gotten sick. He got pneumonia, and he was 2, I think. Either getting ready to be 2 or he was 2. And my mom couldn't stay in the hospital with him because she was pregnant. And back then, I don't know, maybe it's the same now, I don't know. But they didn't want her by him to catch it. So I stayed in the hospital. I stayed, anytime I wasn't at school, I was there. And by the time he was 4, he was calling me mom. And we corrected him, but because he just latched on to me so much, and, I helped raise all of them, the 4 younger ones. Not all of it was good, though, they could tell you. So I had a huge connection with Josh. I believe I have a connection with all my siblings, and I could sit and talk about all of them and tell you what that connection is, and it's cool. But with Josh, he was one that was like my son. He looked like me. Well, he was skinny and hot, but like smiling all the time, and the lighter eyes, and his characteristics and personality. I think it kind of runs a lot in the family, though, because a lot of us have that personality and characteristics. So to see that young man of 24 He killed himself 2 months before I turned 25. And I remembered later, after things had happened, he had told me when he was it 18? I can't remember. He said, Kelly, no one lives till they're 25 if they've been in jail. And I'm like, huh? He's like, I'm not going to make it to 25. And I'm like, whatever, Josh, quit fooling around, Joshua Paul. Don't talk like that. Because we believe there's power of life and death in our tongue. It's biblical. So I just was telling him, don't talk like that, But he did. And I believe sitting here, that contributed, whether you believe me or not, but that contributed to all the events leading up. I mean, he killed himself within 2 months before he turned 25. That's kind of cray. But, so after all said and done, my siblings are there. My mom's pastor and his wife had showed up. The police were there. He had killed himself throughout the night. Was not found until, was it late morning? Because it was so warm, we couldn't have him embalmed. We had to cremate him. It's the only option we had. My mom was checked out. His wife was checked out. So I took on the responsibility of taking their animals, taking their children, and I took care of them, yeah. So once, probably after about, my brother Justin was a big help. Him and I organized what to put in the paper. A lot of the siblings helped with funeral arrangements to pay for it. Everyone, the siblings just gathered around and came together as best as we could. I mean, we were going through it too. Just even to this day, I'm down in Alabama right now. So even to this day, I mean, like, my sister-in-law and I will just be like, when we get up there, we're going to knock them out. Because, 5 years and we still don't understand. I don't think it's something we ever will. So we had the funeral, and we couldn't have a casket or anything because, we had to cremate him. So we had his box, and we made these big pictures of him. Maybe someday I can show his picture. I'm not at home, so I can't pop a picture of him up that I have in my room. But he was a very handsome man. I was always told he was a very handsome man. They say he looks like my brother Chris. So that's funny and ironic. Which is funny because I think that, okay, I'm rabbit trolling. So we had the funeral, and like I said, it's 5 years, and we're still, we don't know, we'll just, at every family gathering, 3 family members and their families have moved away, better jobs, better opportunities. Unfortunately, my younger sister, Tiffany, moved away because her mom had passed away, and she moved, I believe the big reason was to be closer with our sister Misty, and Dar and Jolene, because there's a lot of family in Wisconsin. There wasn't a lot of family everywhere else. So I believe that, and the others moved away for better job opportunities. So it's harder, having everyone away. And that's all started happening after the suicide. Within a few years, my grandmother, who was like our everything, passed away. So with the suicide, I would even talk to her and be like, what was going on? I mean, how, I don't know. I guess the normal, maybe. Is there such a thing? Questions. What could we have done? How much more could we have helped? I mean, we were there frequent flyers in this family. We had monthly get-togethers. Even more so, like, when I could say the monthly get-togethers, it was where pretty much all or majority of the family would get together. But throughout the week, someone would be at someone's house for dinner, or someone would be visiting the niece and nephews or the siblings. That was pretty much our normal. That's just how it was. And so we all had those questions. We still do. And I don't think it's something, I've heard people through other people's suicides or websites I've seen things on, or Facebook comments or posts of how selfish they were to kill themselves. I've heard people make those comments, because us sitting here are truly the ones that are suffering, and me going through depression where I felt like I didn't want to live. I don't think, well, I guess maybe at first I thought that, like, how could you do that? I know I remember that. How could you do this? You have 3 beautiful children. I get, all this other stuff was going on, but he has, sorry, he has 3 beautiful children, and, and the youngest one was a baby. He doesn't even remember his dad. And now this day he calls someone else dad. They all do, which is great. I'm glad, that, I don't know, is she my ex-sister-in-law? They didn't get divorced. She's widowed. My ex-sister-in-law got remarried. I hope he's a great guy. I've met him a couple times. I don't really know him. But the kids love him, and that's what's important. And when they call him dad, I don't correct him, because he is in their life. That's who she married. So that's how it has to be. And they have a cute little baby together. And I told Josh's oldest, my niece Bree, I'm like, Bree, your sister, because Josh had Bree, Daniel, and Noah. So 1 daughter and 2 sons. And the youngest one's a daughter. And I'm like, she can come with you guys when you come over to Aunt Kelly's anytime. Because I would never exclude somebody, So, the family now tries to be there for those kids. We try to talk about Josh as much as we can and show pictures and videos. I'm very thankful that I was somebody that took pictures and videos. And I don't know. I don't know what else to say about suicide. It is, besides going through depression yourself, and I'm not undermining anybody going through depression, it is the worst thing I went through in my life. And I've gone through many things in my life, from depression to divorce, to molestation. I mean, so many things. But suicide, it became so final. It was so final. And that was it. There was nothing else we could do. And be here to talk. I have a girlfriend that, I don't know if she wants me to say her name, but she's going through depression, and she's actually having suicidal thoughts. And literally, I'll pick up the phone and she'll be texting me, and we'll sit and text for a long time. And prior to me coming down here to the South, I was making it a priority to meet with her, just to talk with her, just to let her know I'm there and I care. And she would talk to me. I bet she could tell you, I knew Kelly would be there for me. She got a hold of me one time. She was actually going to kill herself. And I was going to a movie with some friends. I remember as clear as day. My hair is being crazy. And I'm like, I can't go to this movie. I have to be here for her. And I think that's important. I think we need to choose to say something. We need to choose to be there. We need to choose to let them know, yeah, even me included, may have hurt you, but that doesn't mean I love you any less, and it doesn't mean I'm going to not be there for you. That's what I think we need to do. You're going to hear me say choose and make a choice a lot, because that's something I've learned in my life, especially in the last few months. And I'm in my 40s now, so 40 years of living on this earth that, it's become so much more real to me. And I have my good days and bad days with the suicide, and I don't stop living, Josh. But in saying that, I don't stop living. Because you know what? That's something I fought with before. Everyone keeps living. Everyone keeps going. And I just wanted to scream. My brother just killed himself. But everything kept going. People still had to work. People still had to take care of their kids. People still got to make their car payment. People still got to pay the bills. People still got to eat. Life goes on. And that's a choice we have to make. It's not an easy one. My brother, my son, just killed himself. It wasn't good. It wasn't good. It's still not good. It'll never be good. I get, what do you say? I get more of a, I wouldn't say satisfaction, but that song keeps on my mind. I can't get no. Okay, I get more of a reassurance to know he's in heaven, which at Josh's funeral, we had it at Josh was not attending a church at that time, so we had it at this neutral church in one of our local towns, and this man opened his church up and was just very nice to our family, and it was a great service, and I spoke at it, and my cousin spoke, and my sister-in-law I believe spoke, and a couple other people, but the point of that is we believe there's a scripture in the Bible that says that God will use all things, for his glory. Romans 8:28. And during that service time, it's going to sound crazy. I don't care if y'all think I'm crazy or not, but God had let me know Josh was in heaven. And my mind, when things were happening, is he's in hell because he killed himself. And the Bible says thou shalt not kill. And the Bible talks about this, and the Bible talks about that. And I'm not knocking the Bible. I love God. But these are just thoughts and things that were going through my head. But at that service, I really, 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 truly felt to let my time of talking, let it be known and be said that I knew he was in heaven. And you know what? God really did use that for his glory, because after that church service, there was a young lady who is a family friend. I'm not close with her. Oh, see, that's just an excuse to get a drink. That's what I'm telling you guys. You gotta get in our pop. Look at this, in my second one. But she was one of my siblings' friends. So a family friend had been contemplating suicide. And she left that funeral that day and wasn't going to kill herself. And she's still alive now and has a beautiful family, and she has kids. And so God used that and turned it, and that's awesome in itself. But this part really got to me, because when we think of ministers, preachers, pastors, whatever title or position they hold, a lot of times we forget they're human. That they're human. They're going to fall short. They're going to err. They're going to sin just like the rest of us. And we want to put them up on this pedestal, and we shouldn't. We should honor them, and we should sit under them and let them be our shepherd. And that's it. We shouldn't put him up on his pedestal and make him out to be perfect. But the minister of that church, his sibling, I believe it was his brother, had killed himself years ago. And this man, and I mean no disrespect if he eventually watches this or someone says something to him, I want to say he's in his 50s, possibly 60s. I don't want to, no disrespect, like I said, so don't come lashing at me about it. And this happened when he was younger. I think I want to say he was still in school. It was 40-something years he had told, I believe my mom, that he dealt with thinking that his sibling was in hell. And he was set free that day of the funeral, because he was told and taught, if you kill yourself, you go to hell. That's another thing comes between you and God. I'm not here to tell you what does and does not happen. I'm not God. Thank the Lord. That's not a position I want to hold or ever want to hold. But I do and will and have said and will say and do want to say that I know that I know that I know my brother Joshua Paul is in heaven. I know it. No one can change that. And no one will change that. If it's something you're dealing with, you're not sure, hopefully this will give you some peace. I'm not saying everybody that dies and everybody that kills themselves in heaven, because that's not how it is. But I know this particular subject matter, this particular person is. Nothing will change my mind on that. You know, haters are going to hate. I've had many Christians be like, oh, he's burning in hell, to my face, behind my back, to some of my loved ones, to our friends. And I'm like, seriously, now's the time to be doing this? That's kind of whatever. But I know he is, and I know he's waiting for me. He's saving a place for me. And now, while I'm still here, I choose to help take care of his kids. I choose to visit them and love on them and talk about him to them, and choose to never forget him. God bless.